Hi, welcome to the G Lounge. We're here with Moses Hill, certified hypnotherapist, entrepreneur, author, and what else?
A whole lot of things. Thanks. It's funny. I saw something on social media the other day where this lady, she was saying that the jack of all trades, master of none, is like it's a wrong saying, right? But really, it's like jack of all trades, master of many, or something like that, or
master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yes. So that really touched a nerve with me because I've always been really, really good at several different things, and I've always had like that saying in the back of my mind, like, oh damn, I'm not mastering any one thing. But I work with people's subconscious minds, and I help individuals, shift their reality, to say the least.
Okay. And what about like mental health, like certain like what practices do you work with? How do you recommend staying in alignment? And
the types of mental health that I work with is vast, right? Because people come in to me because whatever it is that they have been experiencing before, it hasn't worked, right? Yeah. So a lot of people, they come in and they've had 5 to 10 years of cognitive therapy, psychiatric support, medicinal support, and they still experience whatever it is that they're coming in for. And that could vary from anxiety to body dysmorphia. Some people deal with fibromyalgia, where it's just like pain throughout the entire body for no medical reason, and then some people come in for Crohn's disease, where your digestive system is all messed up and you're incontinent and so forth. And then other people come in for performance things, wanting to do better in school, or just wanting to live a happier life. Those are most of my clients, people that really want to live a happier life.
Okay. Do you think that society has shifted a bit with how mental health is viewed? I remember being in school, and it was kind of shameful to speak of any mental health issues. Do you think that that's getting better?
I wouldn't say that it's like getting better from a standpoint of it not happening, or less cases of it happening. What I would say is that due to the pandemic that we just went through, people really got in touch with themselves. So because of that, a lot of the things that we would normally do to distract ourselves from our emotions, from our mental health, kind of got put right in our face, right? Because we weren't able to leave the confines of our living space and the people that we lived around. So a lot of people had to find out, like, why am I reacting this way? Why do I feel this way? Why is it that if I'm not going out to the bar and hanging out with my friends, that I feel depressed, right? So it's not that it's getting better. I think that there's more awareness on it, and people are choosing to do something about it now, and there's more conversation happening about the state of mind.
So it's easier to speak about it now, where before it was kind of...
It was not understood, and I think that when people would show that they weren't happy, or that they didn't have it all together, it would be seen as like, oh, well, you don't have your life together, or you need to go back to school, or the person would say, well, if I had X amount of dollars in my bank account, then I would feel, and then certain people actually accomplished in that phase, like becoming wealthy, but they were still feeling empty. Sad and empty inside, and it flipped on both sides,
Okay. What do you think of ego? Do you think that you ever really conquer that, or
me personally?
In general. Just
in general.
Humanity.
What's interesting about that, Gwen, is that ego isn't something to conquer. It's something to embrace. It's something to nurture, right? So will the masses in humanity be able to discover that their ego is something that they need to embrace and nurture? I would say eventually, yeah, because we're kind of on that path right now. We're noticing that no matter how much money and power that you have, you still will face justice. You know, no matter how protected you are, you'll still, you know, find yourself being on medicine or something like that to deal with the ability to sleep and to eat properly and, you know, to do X, Y, and Z. So multimedia, social media, it's allowed for everybody to see everything, you see. So I think that people are realizing that they're not alone and that the things that they're going through, everybody else is going through in different levels of the spectrum, right?
Exactly.
So it's starting to like level out a little bit, and people are looking to their left and their right, and they're saying, wow, you're just like me. Even though you live in Beverly Hills or in Mar-a-Lago, like, you still can't sleep at night, even though I'm, you know, in Fort Pierce on Avenue D.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So people are looking at life like that now, and it's starting to level out. We're noticing from a conscious perspective that consciousness and a peace of mind and humanity are starting to become very important.
So we're all dealing with same devils, same demons.
Our soul.
In different,
We're all dealing with our soul. You know? And because we're getting there, it's allowing for us to observe just that. Like, who are you as a human being? Like, what really matters to you as a human being? Not the stuff that's around you. Like, what really matters to you? I think people are starting to get there.
Yeah.
And that just throws away everything else. Everything else becomes immaterial.
Okay. So, what about Kundalini? Like, do you feel like that you've had a Kundalini awakening?
So, once again, it's not a destination, right? It's not a one-time thing. It's a journey. Being awakened is an ongoing thing. Consciousness is in alignment with the movement of our universe. So even though we're sitting still right now, we're still moving. We're moving fast, as a matter of fact, in multiple directions. But we feel like we're sitting still because we're not physically, you know, getting up and moving. But we're moving constantly, right? What was your question?
Kundalini awakening.
I heard the vibrator,
Yeah,
so I got a little distracted.
It's like it's on my wrist too.
Okay.
So
put phone on Do Not Disturb. So awakening. So the Kundalini awakening, it's just another way of saying being conscious, right? Being aware of your awareness. So have I achieved that? The answer to that is no, because there's no place for it to be achieved.
Okay.
It's an ongoing thing. It's almost like, has the Earth reached to the end of its orbit?
So we never really reached that nirvana state that people talk about.
We can only choose to experience it.
Yeah, temporary. Okay.
We can only choose to experience it. Okay. And that experience can be an ongoing experience, but it still takes the power of that ongoing choice. As soon as we stop choosing, that's when we eliminate being enlightened. Because at that moment, we're just a part of the circumstantial state of existence, which is automated. And they make sure that it's automated, right? So when you can choose to be happy or choose to be angry, some people may say, well, what do you mean choose to be angry? When I'm angry, I'm just angry.
Yeah.
In that moment that you experience that anger, right there, you can actually choose that you're being angry. So as soon as a circumstance hits into the space of your reality, you choose that. And then you can choose the next thing. If you don't begin choosing that moment that circumstantially impacted your reality, you'll never be able to create and choose the next, which is why it's an ongoing thing.
So as far as anger, I mean, because anger is a good thing to an extent. Releasing it is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that I came to you because of anger issues at one point. I don't know where I was going, but like, what do you think about that as far as that
Anger.
feeling? Yeah.
Anger in and of itself.
Like, is it more controlling it or finding methods of releasing it?
Yeah. So there's a similarity between control and accountability, but they're two totally different things. Right? Anger generally is stemmed from a past experience that you're comparing a current moment, a circumstance. So if you're not getting what you want, or if you're not feeling understood, if you're not feeling heard, if you're not feeling appreciated, if you may experience being betrayed or something like that, those things trigger a past association that you have already lived through. It could be an inner child. It could be a moment that was unresolved that you never got a chance to actually deal with. And that could be in various stages of your life. It could be multiple moments that causes multiple layers of this character trait to be embedded in your being, in your behavior.
And then you just keep attracting it because you've already
That's who you have become.
Okay.
Right? So people, they try to like shake it. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not an angry person. It's like, actually you are. Like if you just take on the accountability and say, I am an angry person, then you can choose to be loving. If you never give yourself the opportunity to say, this is who I am being in this moment, once you're experiencing the existence of that moment, you'll never be able to create the next moment. And that's where people feel enslaved. That's where they feel like, I can't do anything about it. It's because they believe that they can't do anything about it because it's ingrained in their subconscious programming, in their subconscious mind, based upon past experiences. And those past experiences, they can be within our lifetime. They can be within the genetic makeup of who we are as a human being. It could be from the geographical position of where we were born at the time that we were born, based upon our birth chart, an astral read, right? So there's elements that create this character expression. But at the end of the day, we have consciousness. We have nirvana. We have awakened, right?
Free will.
We have the free will to choose who we want to be in every moment. And that's the exercise.
Do you believe that some of it is in our DNA and our makeup?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So ancestral?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's the programming that takes place in the mind of a human body is from generations and generations and generations. Behavior is in the same space as language. It's in the theta realm of the brain. So if you have a child that's born from a family that only speaks Spanish, right? And you put that child in an environment where Spanish and English are spoken, that child is going to gravitate towards the Spanish language because the Spanish language is ingrained in that child's DNA. Not saying that child won't be able to pick up English. Because within the time frame of the time you're born until you're like 10 or 11 years old, your subconscious isn't protected. That's the whole reason why we come here, is to acquire new information, to evolve. Speaking of evolution, I actually bought this shirt for you. To evolve as human beings.
Awesome.
This is
Thank
for
you.
you. I want for you to, every time that you wear it, think about the way that you originally saw yourself, right? The experience of yourself and who you saw yourself being, and reflect on that and become even more aware of who you are being today and who you're being in every moment, all right? So this is evolution. We're no longer evolving in the space of survival. It's now the stage of evolving in the space of spirituality.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. That's for the sanctuary of love, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a little later. But when you're evolving, you're able to adapt, right? After you have had that space where your subconscious is not protected by your critical mind, you then have to intentionally cause that evolution. And that generally doesn't happen until somebody's like in their 18,
enough,
19, 20 years old, you know? So between 11 and like 17, the child is living unaware that it's already been programmed from its entire past. It's the past of its past. And the past of its past of its
So
past.
that's like the Pluto's Cave. I don't know if you watched that. No.
I didn't, but it sounds like it would be. It's like the little black hole is going in everywhere.
So hypnosis, being hypnotized. Everybody has this idea of like, you know, you can make somebody act like a chicken for an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
So explain the process and how it really works.
Okay, so a hypnotist and a hypnotherapist are one and the same, but totally different, right? Hypnotists are usually like entertainers. They'll go up on stage, they'll have music, they'll have lights. You know, you may see them at like festivals and fairs, and you know, they'll turn on the Michael Jackson song, and they'll ask, you know, how many people are able to see this in their mind, and you know, if I were to ask you this, you know, how many show of hands would you be able to see that? And the next thing you know, they analyze and they're like, okay, well, these people are suggestible, you know, and then they pick them, they have them come up, and then they talk to them, and everything is done to where by the time that they're being hypnotized, they really don't care because they're already shown that they're suggestible. They've already given themselves to the experience. They've already relaxed. Now they're stimulated by the lights. They're stimulated by the people. And all the hypnotist has to do is just tell them what to do, right? So ideally, the individuals that are doing those things, they're completely aware of what's going on, right? If they're overstimulated by the environment, then yeah, just like anything else that may happen to you in the day. What did you have to eat 3 days ago? It's like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But you lived it. You were right there. You were doing it. But even a few hours after those things are done, you can leave a restaurant and be like, what did I order? Right? So you may have been hypnotized by the conversation, the individual that you were with. Maybe somebody was acting crazy in the restaurant. Maybe, you know, you went to the beach after, and then that experience completely wiped out the last experience. So we're all living in a space of hypnosis. But a hypnotherapist actually asks the right questions to understand what's hypnotizing you. And then our job is to unhypnotize you from what you've been hypnotized by, right? So that you can actually choose your life moving forward. So when people say, oh, can you hypnotize me? When they ask me that question, I'm like, that's not my job. It's not my job to hypnotize you. I'm sorry. You know, I say yes because you're already hypnotized. It's my job to unhypnotize you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what about like when it comes to like love, relationships, and like cord cutting, letting go, things like that? How do you feel about that?
So there's a lot involved in that, right? Is part of your question, does hypnotizing people help that? Or is it just kind of like, what do I feel about it in general?
Just in general, when it comes to love, I mean, do you think...
Like, what do I feel about love?
Yeah, like as far as like codependency and finding that self-love.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's wonderful that you bring up the word codependency in association with love. Which leads me to my opinion of love the way that it was taught to us through film and TV and our parents and our grandparents and the stories of how love was back in the day. How it's no longer the same and you kids don't know what love is and this, that, and the other. Quite on the contrary, we are establishing what the true meaning of love is in today's day and time. If we go all the way back to like biblical times and we just read in the Bible where it says God is love, right? We can identify with love being an experience of God, right? And when you look in certain books in the Bible, it expresses what love is. Like love is kind, love is patient, love holds no, what is it?
Records of
wrongdoing, right? So it gives you a breakdown of like what the actions of love are But it never says love is to do all of those things with one person and get married to them and have kids and this is the person that you love, right? You can do all of those things that are underneath the actions and the guise of love to anybody. You know, I could be kind to you. I could, you know, hold no records of wrongdoing. You know what I'm saying? I can be patient with you. Like, these are the experiences of love. So as far as like love in and of itself, I believe it's a global language. I think that we all have the ability to love each other as long as we have the accountability to love ourselves. And people are like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's so cliche in today's time to be like, self-love, self-love, self-love. Like, what does that mean? And really, the answer to that is, what is your experience?
Yeah.
What are you experiencing in your life right now as it is? And if any of those things are like loneliness, you know, pain, misery, sleepless nights, discomfort, whatever those things are, right? Love is to nurture those things for yourself. Because if you're not able to master nurturing the areas of you that are experiencing that pain, and you do a great job of loving yourself and you just like push them to the side, and then anytime anybody brings up any conversation about anything that has anything to do with emotion, it's like, wait, no, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. It's like, okay, well, that's a direct indicator that you're not truly loving you. If you can't open up all the portals of you and dive and dig and discover and swim and flow and cry when it's time to cry and laugh when it's time to laugh and be nervous when it's time to be nervous and like literally just nurture it all, right? That's love. When we get there as human beings from a self-dependent standpoint, where we can wake up in the morning and we feel complete, we feel loved, we feel nurtured, we feel accepted, we feel appreciated, we feel grateful. And if we don't feel those things, we create those feelings. We sit within ourselves and wonder why those feelings don't exist, and allow for our mind and our body and our soul to be nurtured to eventually experience those feelings, right? We take that time. Once we take that time and we meet somebody else that's also taken that time, now I'm not expecting you to make me feel any particular way, because I'm doing it for myself. So guess what we get to do with each other? We get to have fun, we get to do things, we get to, you know, build life together, right? And that's the exchange, right? It's not that I love you. It's like, I love spending time with you, but I love myself. But I love spending time with you, right? So that exchange of intimacy, that exchange of time, that should be a very, I kind of do the diagram, like let's just say this is love, right? And you're by yourself and you're loving yourself, and it's like, okay, I'm loving myself, I'm experiencing love, I'm loving myself, I'm experiencing love, I'm loving myself, I'm experiencing love, and then boom, you come into the picture, right? So now it's like I love myself, I'm experiencing love, and then boom, I meet you, then what happens? Normally, I love you, you love me. I love you, you love me. What happened to that? I love myself, I'm experiencing love, I love myself, I'm experiencing love. It goes out here, right? So what happens when it goes out there? It goes from you, who at a certain point, you stop this, but you still have all that pain, you still have all that emotion, you still have everything that you've been loving and nurturing for yourself. And it goes out of you into somebody else, and then it goes through their filter of self-experience and whatever it is that they've gone through in their life, and then that comes back to you. What does that come back with? It comes back with everything that they've been dealing with in their life too. So if the individuals are actually doing this individually, right? Loving, experiencing, then what happens is you get to share some of those moments, but you're still loving, experiencing. So there's no expectation. You don't ever need to give me anything because I'm loving, experiencing already, right? That's the ideology of the love that I believe is becoming established in today's society.
Okay. So do you think that a lot of people have a distorted view of love, and that's kind of what the root of the issue is right now?
Their programming has been from a codependent standpoint, like I have to prove my love to my partner, I have to make it work, we'll pull through this together. Like there's a lot of like sacrifice and like proving one's self-worth in the design of how love used to be expressed and received.
And entitlement, would you believe?
Yeah, entitlement,
like if you love me, you would do this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot of that. So there's that where it's like, okay, well, if you love me, then you will. And then there's the you make me feel, so I am. Okay. Those two things are complete deal breakers when it comes to the experience of actual love. There are no boundaries. There are no expectations. There is no entitlement with love. The only thing that there should be any of those things with is with self. If you expect something, expect it from self. If you're entitled, be entitled to self. And then once you discover that entitlement and expectations of even self is unnecessary, then you can just allow yourself to be and feel whatever emotions it is that you are feeling in a moment in time, right? So if you're upset, be upset with yourself. Sit down, go for a walk on the beach or something like that. Figure out how to communicate what it is that you're actually dealing with versus the response of what you think that you're dealing with, right? Most often, silence is the best way to deal with any sort of anger and resentment. You just settle and then communicate.
So how do you prevent that silence from becoming suppression?
The second phase of it, silence, and then communicate. See, when you allow for yourself to say, okay, I'm angry now, I'm being angry now. Now is already in the past. As soon as you say now, it's already in the past, right? So I am being angry now. I am being respectful. Or now I am being peaceful. Or now I am being compassionate. Or now I am being understanding. Or now I'm just simply being clear. Because there hasn't been any clarity in the expression of my anger. And most often, when we express clearly what we want, we realize that it's filled with entitlement. It's filled with ego. It's filled with expectation. Once you communicate that, and you're like, oh, I'm really expecting for you to do these things because of what I am doing for you. So I'm expecting for you to do that for me. I should be doing that for myself. And you should be doing this for yourself. It's like, well, I guess it ain't working out then, is it? And then at that point, what we have to deal with is the unknown of what may be perceived as loneliness, right? Most people get angry because they're afraid of being lonely.
Actually, anger, it's sometimes listening to like people, men versus women, politics, whatever. There's a lot of anger in everything. Just to be viewed or to understand the point of view, and it's like, why? I feel like it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah. So people, especially in politics, most of the time, they've come from a past of not being heard. So what did they have to do? They had to create a character of being heard.
Yeah.
And then some people, they just have it in them to be a leader. And when you're a leader, what does that mean? That you're expecting for people to follow. And if people don't follow, what do? You get louder.
Yeah.
So most of these people that are passionate about what they have a stance for, generally either don't believe that it can fully be done, so they're aggressive about it, or it may not even be a commitment that they're clear about.
Do you think there's like fear a lot of the time involved? Like
Yeah, like getting
being
it done.
threatened? Well, I mean, as far as like the opposite end, somehow getting ahead or...
Oh, so you're saying like on the opposite end of the person that's
Yes,
angry?
yeah.
Like
For
how is that
whatever
anger
reason,
retaliated?
Yeah.
A lack of accountability. You know, people don't realize that the words that they say to other people impact the other person's life. The actions that they have with other people impact the quality of life that other people have. Once you become aware that every movement and every word that you contribute in someone's life is impacting that individual's life, then you can become accountable for the way that you express yourself. If you don't have any consideration whatsoever, then yeah, you'll fly off the handle of being angry. You'll be aggressive. You'll lack clarity. I always tell my clients to divert back to what you're committed to.
Mm-hmm.
Just go back to what you're committed to. Most people are like, well, I'm committed to this person doing that, and that. And I always say, well, I'm not saying to what you're committed to for them.
Exactly.
I'm asking you to look at what you're committed to. And then they may say, well, I'm committed to making sure that they... and it's always like...
It's about control.
It's them, right? And then it always goes back to, no, what are you committed to? And hopefully, when we get to that answer and question, they finally get to, well, I just want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you're committed to happiness.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And then what else? Well, I'm just tired of being angry all the time. Oh, so you're committed to a peace of mind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What else? I'm just tired. Oh, so you're committed to health and well-being. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now we outline like, okay, so you're committed to peace of mind, you're committed to happiness and health and well-being. Is you trying to get that person to do whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do inside of your commitment for happiness, peace of mind, and health and well-being?
Yeah, and even though you're trying to control, you're actually giving that person the power to control how you feel about
Exactly,
yourself.
because you're putting your commitment, your love, in their hands. Mm-hmm. And that's why it always messes up. When it's like, oh my God, I love you so much, I could never live without you, like I just miss you so much, my life is nothing without you. It's like, why? Right? So those words, those expressions, those ways of being are all indicators of like love being missed, you know? And the need to interact with someone to love you is coming from a void that's misunderstood. And that's what we target on, like in hypnotherapy and, you know, healing. We're dealing with that void in the soul, you know, not the state of mind. The state of mind only interacts with the soul, which interacts with the universe, right? So we deal with the soul. Sanctuary of love. She's like, and your soul was like, yeah, me!
Yeah.
Me! So we're dealing with the soul. And that furthers along the process of evolution.
Okay. So you recently started working with the city and also with the botanical gardens, and you've been working with the youth. So tell me about that.
The youth are spectacular. I had a desire to, years ago, before I even became a hypnotherapist, to work with young men, to develop them into becoming conscious young men, not inundated by the history of their past, okay? And black young men specifically, right? Mm-hmm. Because, and as, this was back then, and as I've progressed as a human being, I've realized that people experience the same levels of suppression regardless of their skin color. Yes, there's a history of our race being subjected to slavery, et cetera, and the movement, but so many nations, so many countries have experienced mass annihilation, you know, and have had to rebound from that and create new life from that, you know. So I have compassion for all now. Mm-hmm. So my primary focus right now is working with with the minds of children between like the ages of 5 and 13, because that's when the mind is openly programmable, right? So it's a lot of reaction that takes place in the space when I'm working with these kids. It's like in a group setting. And I just really want to thank the Botanical Gardens for giving me the platform to work with these kids. And I've been wanting to work with the Botanical Gardens for quite some time now. And because my parents got married at the Botanical Gardens when I was 2 years old. So it's always held a very soft space for me. And when they offered me the opportunity to not just do a yoga class and not just do a hypnosis coaching course, but to work with kids, I was like, I'll take that, you know. So I hypnotize a group of like 20 or 30 kids once or twice a week, and I hypnotize them. When I say hypnotize, it's not like they're all like, oh, and you know, all knocked out in the sleep. Some of them are laughing, you know. Some of them are looking at me, staring at me. You know, some of them are deep in meditation. Some of them are like really trying to listen to like what's going on in their mind. It's magnificent, you know. Like if I'll say, you know, you can see the birds in your mind flying by and with the clouds, you'll hear some of the kids in the back go, ah! You know, so. Well,
as you said that, there's a big lizard over there. And that's why I smiled.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Right. So that goes on in their brains, right? So it's wonderful to see these kids' reactions and responses to hypnosis. And I communicate with them about love and empowerment and feeling big and feeling strong and feeling healthy. So I feel like I'm doing a good work in a very vital stage to allow for them to deal with anxiety and uncertainty in a healthy way, using their mind and their breath work.
Okay, so you spoke about diversity, and how do you deal with, like, staying diverse when you're dealing with young children and, you know, respecting
their cultures,
religious background, or you know, anything they might have?
It's like keep it all in love, right? Okay. No matter what religion we're in, everybody relates with love. It's the sanctuary of love, right? Yeah. And the acronym of that is the soul, which...
Yeah, I mean, but like, I think we spoke about it a while, you know, like when you have certain parents that, you know, it's like...
The ideology of hypnosis as a modality to communicate love to their children, we've begun to classify it as mindfulness training, and mindfulness is really awareness, peace of mind, being able to control your communication and your expression. So mindfulness is becoming something that's very important, especially with children, because of the parents' inability to discipline their kids in this day and age. You know, it's like, how do you're not supposed to yell at your kids, you're not supposed to beat the kids, everything that got us to where we are today, it's like we're not supposed to do now. So what are we supposed to do? How do we discipline our children? How do we, you know, get our kids to behave, right? And the answer to that is allowing for them to see it as their choice.
Yeah.
So
it's really hard to get people to understand.
They have to see it as their choice. Like, oh, I enjoy behaving. I enjoy being peaceful. I enjoy being kind. I enjoy being loving. Like, they have to see it as something that they enjoy. But, you know, we're getting there. Right? But we're going through this shift, this learning curve of how, and even me, you know, I don't have any kids, but I deal with kids, and I've got a goddaughter that's a 13-year-old teenager, and even though I work with kids and I know a lot about the subconscious behavior, etc., cognitive conversation doesn't impact the subconscious mind. So no matter how much you talk, it just takes that time, right? So what is there to do? Have more patience, consistency, compassion, consideration. Knowing that your child is not behaving that way because your child is bad. Knowing that your child is behaving that way, perhaps if you were the best parent in the world and you gave your child everything, Perhaps your child is responding off of genetic imbalance from your grandmother or your great-grandfather or somebody that you don't even know anything about, right? To have that compassion and that consideration for that child, to continue to love and nurture and support, and let them be free to do what they choose to do. That's where we're heading now. It's like putting the onus on the child to choose. And it's like, well, how can you have a child choose?
Yeah.
Well, they start off with that. They know they want applesauce, the little baby food, you know what I'm saying? They know they don't like the taste of carrots or, squash or whatever. They know what to choose and what not to choose because we all have a soul. The soul knows what feels good and the soul knows what feels bad. But if we look at it, why do children become rebellious? Why do they become angst later on in their development stage? Because we are doing our best to protect our children from the mistakes that we may have perceived that we've made. So what happens there? The soul, upon arrival, becomes suppressed. And what happens when you suppress a soul? It's energy. You can't contain that, right? Especially one that's so bright and new. So now kids are like, I want to get up out of here. So suicidal rates are going up. You know what I mean? Like
ADHD and
all that, because they're like, no, I don't want to do anything that you say ever. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why? I've loved you your entire life. Like, what's wrong? I don't know, but I hate you. It's like, okay. Right?
Yeah. And so you have a juice that's out.
Yeah.
It's called That Green Juice.
That green juice, yes.
What are the benefits and the ingredients I know you can't give all the ingredients.
Can I be honest on this show? It's like PG-13, rated R a little bit. I made the juice because I wanted to have better sex. That was the primary thing. So I created the juice because at that time I was 39 years old and I had a high sex drive, but I lacked sexual performance, right? So I would want to have sex and then have sex, action would be done, and I want to have sex again, but I wouldn't be able to perform, right? I wouldn't be able to have an erection. So the desire was there, I wanted to, but the performance wasn't backing it. So I started to do research. I'm like, why is this? Because I know that I'm attracted to this person, right? And why is my body not responding to my desire? And it all boiled down to nutrition. So the first ingredient that I found was maca powder.
Okay.
And maca powder is known to raise the libido. It's a libido enhancer. So I put that into a smoothie. And then I started to do more research and I discovered that egg yolk, the raw egg yolk, is also a libido enhancer. So I started doing that. And then I found out that watermelon is also a libido enhancer. And then the rind of the watermelon is even more of a potent libido enhancer than the juicy part of the watermelon. So I started doing all these things. And I started to dig. And then I discovered sea moss. And then I discovered spirulina. And then I discovered baobab root. And I was like, these things are all libido enhancers.
Yeah.
So I started putting all these things together. And then the final ingredient that was kind of the thing was oatmeal. Oatmeal, raw oats, is a libido enhancer. So everything was wrapped around sex. Literally. And I just continued to add different ingredients. And then we finally came up with the formula where it's 16 ingredients. It's spring water, honey, sea moss, and raw oats. It's maca powder, matcha powder, spirulina powder, and baobab root powder. Okay. And there's zucchini, squash, celery, and cabbage. And then there's mango, avocado, apples, and bananas.
Oh, wow.
So there's 16 ingredients, and then sometimes I'll throw collagen in there. Somebody wants that as an enhancer, or I'll throw SSS tonic in there, which is incredible for iron development. And then sometimes I may switch it up. But that green juice are those 16 ingredients that I told you about, and it's blended and it tastes wonderful, and it literally, and apart from the sex, which is absolutely wonderful for both male and female when you consume it, it clears out your digestive system. it gives you sustainable energy. Like, it's unbelievable what happens when you use the energy that your body is housing from drinking that green juice. It's like feeling like you've got a reserve tank of like nitrous in your body. So you don't really feel it until you begin using it. So like I'll go for a run on the beach, and normally, do we need to stop or anything? Oh, okay. Normally, you know, I would run like a quarter of a mile and my legs would be burning because you're on sand, you know, you're running on the beach and it's intense, or you might be running in the water side, and it's harder than running on regular road, you know. So I'll run like a quarter mile and I'll get exhausted. This is like before green juice. After green juice, I can run like 2-3 miles on the beach, in the deep sand, in the shallow sand, in the water, hopping over waves, and it's sustainable. And as long as you pace yourself, you can just keep going because the energy is sustainable. So it comes from that green juice because I don't really consume anything else.
Yeah.
And whatever I do consume, I just consume whatever I want, you know? So I'm not like a vegan. I don't only eat that green juice.
Yeah.
I love pork, beef. I stay away from carbs, but that's because I don't like the way that carbs produce fat in the body. That's the only like nutritional tip that I have. Drink plenty of water, stuff with electrolytes, coconut water and stuff like that, and then eat everything in moderation.
Yeah, I think we also have to make our bodies get used to the natural toxins that they're just there. So if you take that away, like,
you're putting yourself susceptible to being prone to other things, you know, to where if something does have pork, you're going to throw up and, you know, feel horrible that night. It's like, why? You know, just everything in moderation. And I do respect cultures, religions, and people's choices. If you choose to be vegan, be vegan. If you choose to be vegetarian, be vegetarian. If you choose to be pescatarian, be pescatarian. For me, I drink green juice and I eat everything in moderation, and I stay away from white flours. Yeah, I believe that everybody deserves a fair shot at mental health. So if somebody is unable to afford my regular fee, then the donations, they cover those fees. And they also cover, like if I do group sessions for like other nonprofits or what have you, the Sanctuary of Love's donations contribute that money to God's Hands Hypnosis, which is my for-profit company, and it covers my time to give people that are unable to afford mental health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And talk to us about happiness. How do you, I think we kind of elaborated a little bit, but how do you seek within and really learn to find peace so you can feel a little more complete?
Yeah, we did kind of touch on that. Happiness is very much like the Kundalini awareness and love.
That blissful.
Yeah, what's similar to it is that there's no destination. Happiness is something that must be created in every moment, if that's what you choose to create. When people are like, I just want to be happy all the time, that gets boring.
Yeah.
You know, it really does. If there's no contrast of happiness and sadness, in those moments that you're on the beach and you're feeling like that vibration of that energy and you're happy and the sun's hitting you and you're getting recharged, you wouldn't really be able to experience the blissfulness of that if you didn't wake up feeling like crap in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just wouldn't be able to do that. But that's not to say that in the morning when you wake up feeling groggy or not complete, that in that moment you don't create the experience of happiness. Like, wow, I just woke up and I have life and I'm grateful for that. I'm sleeping in my bed. I ain't got no leaks in my roof. Like, my car is outside, there's gas in my car, there's food in my fridge, my children are safe. To be able to take that in and communicate those things to your mind in those moments, it stimulates those nerves, those neurons that send those happiness triggers to your overall body. And you can create happiness just by establishing new thought. So I always tell people, if you're not happy, choose to be happy. The goal isn't to be happy all the time. It's just when you notice that you're not happy, there's no need to stay stuck in that orbit.
Yeah.
Just continue to move and create that happiness. What would that look like if I'm suffering from depression, Moses? If you chose to do something in a moment that you're experiencing depression, what would it be? Would you sleep? Would you eat? Would you watch a television show? Would you read a book? Would you go for a walk? Would you sleep more? Whatever it is that you choose to do in that moment that you are experiencing depression, create as your choice. See, depression sets in when you are disconnected from what you intuitively desire. But if you create what you intuitively desire, then depression won't exist. You may continue to experience it, right? But it won't exist as a stationary place. Because you'll know that, yes, I'm experiencing being sad. And now I'm experiencing being at ease or peaceful. And you can literally just segue a little bit. Go from sad to peaceful. And it's like, I'm sad or I'm peaceful. And it shifts from a depression to an ease. People can do that with just their words, with just their thought. So happiness is something that can be created. It's not like, go out and do yoga and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Go out and go for a bicycle ride and you'll be happy. Go for a ride to the beach and you'll be happy. No. It's literally just choosing whatever it is that you are doing in that moment as an expression of your happiness. If we're sitting here talking right now, I can create that I'm being happy. If we're sitting here arguing right now, I can create that I'm being happy. Because in that argument, I can say, what the hell are we arguing about? You know, it's like, what's going on right now?
A lot of people might think like this. What happens if you're like at work or whatever, and your boss is getting to you? You start feeling those emotions come along. How do you, in that moment, take over?
You say, I'm choosing to be here at work with that crazy ass boss. That's how you take over. Because at the end of the day, anything else is a circumstance, and you're going to feel displaced. So as soon as you say exactly what it is, that's exactly what happens. The weight comes off, and you can look around and you can say to yourself, I am choosing to be here right now. And in that moment, there is a doorway that opens up. It's like, holy shit, I am choosing to be here right now. And at that moment, you can choose whatever it is that you want to do. If you're living in the space of fear, like I can't leave this job because I'm gonna lose, my house and everything else, choose that. I'm choosing to be fearful about losing my job because I'm going to lose my house. You can only take that next step of, I'm going to choose, and your mind starts to move. It's like, what am I going to choose now? Because I've already chosen that. This is my existence. This is where I am right now, here in this moment. So what am I going to choose now? And every time that you ask yourself that question, now passes by. So in the moment of your thought process of what am I choosing, what are you doing? You're separating from where you are and creating where you will be. So in that moment, you have a choice to experience what it is that you are going to do. Whatever that may be. Once you do that, your soul settles. I'm choosing to stay here and work until X. I'm choosing to be in this relationship. And now I'm choosing to honor a commitment that I'm creating. Whatever that commitment is. So if the relationship is filled with anger, I'm choosing to be in an anger-ridden relationship. I'm committed to being in a loving, peaceful environment. So now that anger is irrelevant. It's kind of like, you can go ahead and be angry if you want to be angry. I'm choosing to be peaceful. Your triggers will cause me to experience moments of anger. And in those moments,
That's what I was just going to ask. What do you do?
I will
Because the
choose
triggers are still going to be there.
to be peaceful.
So,
I will choose to be peaceful. Once you are separating yourself from like, oh, well, you're making me feel that way, and you get in alignment with this is how I am choosing to be, the impact of that person's toxicity becomes foreign from your human existence. And then space develops. And then you can choose to do whatever it is you want with that space. Same thing with the crazy boss. I'm choosing to be in this environment right now. I'm choosing to be financially free. Boom. Your whole thing will shift like, oh, well, obviously my boss ain't financially free, else they're not going to be acting that way, right? So now you're opening up to a whole nother orbit of being financially free. So perhaps the existence of your boss becomes irrelevant because you will now be in the space of becoming financially free. Who knows what that could destroy? Who knows what that could build? You may lose your job the next day, and the next thing you know, you're in panic mode, right? And then it's like, okay, what am I going to do to earn money? Guess what? Your body probably hasn't felt that excitement to stimulate those frequencies in your brain for a long time. So guess what's going to happen? You ain't going to think of nothing to do right away, right? So what happens? You have to continue to choose to be financially free. And sometimes that means losing everything. What's better way to be free than to lose it all, right? So when we ask whatever it is that we are asking from the universe, the way that it is given to us is most likely not going to be in the way that we want for it to come.
Yeah.
But it will manifest itself as long as you put yourself in that orbit. If you understand that law, the same way that we understand the law of gravity, if you jump off a mountain, you're going to fall and hit the ground and you're going to die, right? If we understand that law, that whatever we put into the universe as far as word and thought shift the reality that we exist in space and time, and we understand that as a law, then it's just the way that it is. You don't jump off a mountain wondering, am I going to fall? No. You're falling.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't hop into a plane wondering, am I going to be able to make it there? No. You're making it there. Same way that when I say, or when you say, I'm committed to happiness, that's done. You feel the shift in your body when you say that, because the nerves, they activate. Do you feel the shift in your body if you say that? Say something that you're committed to.
I'm committed to financial freedom.
Okay, now, what do you feel going on in your body?
My focus, I'm not thinking about, how. It's just...
That's where it is. You exist in that space, right? You actually feel the vibration of your body raising to another level of existence just by saying, I'm committed to financial freedom. So if that's what you do and that's what you say, then that's who you will become. But it's in the same space as theta, which is language. So if you're constantly repeating another language and constantly saying that language, eventually you're going to become that language. It's the same thing with behavior and attracting what it is that you desire. But you have to say it first.
Yeah.
And then you have to believe it and you have to feel it, which is where hypnosis comes in. So you want to try it?
Yeah.
But I love this because we get to the part where you're able to share what you felt. Want to give it a try?
Yes.
All right. So first thing, you're sitting perfectly. I'm actually going to come a little closer to you over here. You may feel like a little touch on your forehead later on. All right. Don't get freaked out. All right. So look straight ahead that way at anything. Anything on the ceiling, anything on the floor, something, a focal point in front of you, the socket or something like that. Just kind of focus on anything, okay? And just start to take just regular breath. Just breathe normally. And just continue to breathe normally. And after a few normal breaths, then we'll begin, okay? Whatever it is that you feel, whatever it is that you're going through, thoughts, allow for the thoughts to just kind of pass on through, and kind of look at the thoughts as they're passing through the space of your mind. And as you're breathing, just see if you can allow for a color, any color, to be associated with your breath, so you can actually see your breath coming in into your lungs, into your brain, and moving in through your sinus area, down into your lungs. You can actually see the color of that, whether it's blue or red. And you'll begin to feel just a little bit of pressure towards the front portion of your brain. It's like a little bit of a weight. And you can feel that weight kind of moving back as you're inhaling, and then moving forward as you're exhaling. And you'll be able to feel as if your entire body is becoming a little bit weightless, as if you're just moving gently like a baby in a cradle, just back and forth as you breathe, slowly moving back and forth as you breathe. And you'll continue to feel yourself getting a little lighter, a literal sense of lightness, where your entire body begins to feel as if it's lifting and rising. It's almost like your whole body is lifting and rising, and you're beginning to feel weightless, as if you're suspended in the midst of nothing. This feeling may come as like a euphoric sensation. Perhaps the nerves around your arms and your feet will begin to get a little stimulated, as if it's little pins and needles at the base of your feet, and maybe even at the tips of your fingers. And in a moment, I'm going to make the suggestion that you'll enter into a deep sleep based upon those words being suggested, deep sleep. And each and every time I suggest the words deep sleep, you'll continue to go deeper and deeper the more and more I suggest the words deep sleep. You'll begin to notice that your eyes are getting a little heavy. Perhaps your breath is getting a little deeper, as your entire body is continuing to get lighter and lighter the more and more you breathe. I'll begin to count down from 5 all the way down to 0. When we get down to 0, you'll enter into this deep sleep and continue to enter into this state, quickly, calmly, and easily, allowing for yourself to go deeper and deeper the more and more I suggest the words deep sleep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Deep sleep. Each and every time I suggest the words deep sleep to you, you'll enter into the state quickly, calmly, and easily, and continue to go deeper and deeper the more and more I suggest the words deep sleep. Going even deeper now. As you're entering into this state and continuing to go deeper and deeper the more and more I suggest the words deep sleep, you'll begin to realize that your surroundings is turning into a space that's filled with the essence of abundance. As you're becoming more and more aware of the words that are approaching from my mouth to your ears, you're experiencing even more and more the essence of abundance. You're noticing that the home that you exist in is filled with prosperity. There's tons and tons of opportunity that's being attracted to you based upon the infrastructure of your design. You're noticing more and more opportunities presenting themselves to you in the areas that you find most important. You'll notice that any bills or any responsibilities that you have will continuously be handled with even more ease than it was being handled before. Going even deeper now. As you're experiencing this abundance, you're taking in the colors of the space that are around you. The green, manifesting abundance and wealth. The white, filled with purity and alignment. You're beginning to become even more aware of the ease and the flow of prosperity, opportunity, and abundance. As you're experiencing this abundance, this financial freedom, the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want,
where you want. You're noticing how fulfilled you are being, and how fulfilled you are experiencing, and how much gratitude and appreciation you are experiencing and expressing for each moment of your existence. The love that you share with your family members and your friends, the ability for you to feel safe and secure in your environment. They're all indicators and reminders of the abundance and financial freedom that is continuously being attracted to you in each moment of your existence. Going even deeper now. Even deeper. You're becoming more aware of your character, the way that you are designed, what you are wearing, where you are at. You can see your hands, you can see the hands of the individuals that are around you, if there are any individuals around you at all. You can see the increase in the volume of your bank account, the numbers as you observe the numbers on your cell phone or your laptop. You can see those numbers incrementally going up and up with additional digits being added towards the end. You're able to feel the growth of your wealth with additional properties, additional assets, additional businesses. You can see staff members, you can see contracted employees, you can see supporters. You can feel the stability of the foundation that you have created and are continuing to establish. As you're paying even more attention to this character that is being designed by you in this moment, I will begin the process of counting down from 11 to 0. And when we get to 0, this character that you have designed and have been experiencing within the space of your mind will become one and the same who you are today. And will continue to establish and grow through and through with all the moments that you exist as a human being on this planet. With financial freedom, success, prosperity, wealth, abundance, will continuously be magnetized, drawn to you with ease and effortlessness. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You're visualizing and experiencing yourself, experiencing fulfillment and gratitude at 5, experiencing appreciation and acknowledgement for all the hard work and effort that you've put into establishing this financial freedom at 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Going even deeper now. Even deeper. Even deeper. Feeling the genetic shift, the shift within the molecules and the atoms of your DNA. You're experiencing the vibrancy and security and the stability of the individual that easily magnetizes wealth and abundance to them. In a moment, I will begin the process of counting you out from 0 to 5. And when we get to 5, you'll be awakened. You'll have a renewed energy. You'll have been reinforced in the areas that you are committed to, in the areas of financial freedom and prosperity. At 0, which is always the deepest level of hypnosis, now moving up to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Eyes wide open, wide awake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eyes wide open, wide awake. Wide awake. 1, 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Refreshing.
It's like it's been a while since we did that. I forgot why I used to come and pay you.
So that's hypnosis. As you can see, there's certain energies that pass through your body. How did you feel? Can you explain like how you felt during that process?
Relaxed. I kept seeing the colors change in my mind, even without you saying it. Like at first it started reddish, and then it kept getting kind of purplish and then green. Then after you were counting me out, it went a little bit to orange and started coming back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I kept remembering the socket that I was looking at.
Okay. Okay. Good. When we were talking about the experience of the wealth and the prosperity and all this stuff, did you see yourself, or did you see or experience energy from something somewhere? Are you able to?
I thought of a dream that I had, a few of the dreams that I've had, and I was like, well, what if it's this, or what if it's that? You know, like kind of like that.
So exploring spaces.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like sometimes like my dreams are parallel universes, like kind of like how the movie that just came out. I forgot what it was, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Multiverse.
Yeah.
So I thought of that.
Okay. And what did you experience when you were popping from one verse to the next?
It was more like analyzing, like, what if it's like this, or what if it's like that? And I know we're not supposed to think of like how, the how, but that's what just kept coming up.
Interesting. So you started seeing like various outcomes.
Yeah. Of how it could happen.
Very cool. Very cool. Well.
Okay, and that concludes the show. Thank you, Moses, for visiting the G Lounge, and hopefully we'll see you back soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.